All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Teacher Lady Speaks. I'm Miss Erica, the Teacher Lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Now, all this week, we have been talking about transition, new beginnings, and overall what it means to start over. Starting over is difficult for anybody at any age, okay? But it is especially challenging if you are a little one who is used to a very specific routine. So we kicked things off with our read alouds. We had Evelyn Del Rey Moves Away and From Far Away. Both read alouds were very personable. We did behind the book reviews on them, and so you can go check that out on those respective playlists. But the point of the Teacher Lady Speaks is to take all of my experience as a well-seasoned educator to help enhance your experience as a parent, a caregiver, or a teacher in regards to that topic. Utilize me in order to help you to help them. Kind of like a pay it forward, if you will. So we had our read alouds, we had our reviews, and now we are wrapping it all up in this segment, which is the Teacher Lady Speaks, a crash course in transition, moving, and big changes. You ready? Let's grow. How to define the topic for a young child. If I were explaining that we were going through a big transition to a young child, I would just lead in honesty. I would let them know that in life, things change. You could use real examples like, do you notice that sometimes the leaves are brown and sometimes leaves are green? It's because things change. Or do you notice that we used to always go to this specific restaurant and now we cook at home more? It's because things change. Can you give me some examples of things that have changed in your life? Yeah, you were in kindergarten and now you're in first grade because things change. And now we're going to have something else that's going to have to change. And then you go into whatever that thing is. We're moving to a new city because dad got a job that we're super excited about. And this is what that might look like. You go into the thing with honesty, with patience, with grace, and with love. Okay. So there are no big tricks when it comes to this. Straightforward and honesty are going to be your best bet. However, for young children, I would find examples of things that have already changed that they understand. So, in the state of California, there is no mandated curriculum when it comes to social emotional learning in regards to transition or big changes or new beginnings. There's nothing embedded in the curriculum that says, hey, make sure during third grade that you put this into your lesson plan, which means, of course, that is up to the discretion of the teacher if they think it's important to discuss and or that school district, but there is nothing statewide. Along those same lines, social emotional learning is encouraged, but it's not enforced. So you do with that information as you please. Moving on to the state of Texas. Although California does not have any mandated curriculum, they do have what's called voluntary guidance, things that they share with educators that they feel like would be good for your children to know. This includes, for this topic, transformative social emotional learning with sections including things like self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, and self-management. So again, nothing really even pushed in the direction of like big changes, emotionally dealing with big changes or transition, just suggestions, if you will, that may or may not be accepted by the educator. Now, in the state of Texas, we actually do have a requirement. Hey, under Texas Education Code 28002, curriculum must include social emotional skills like emotional regulation, relationships, and responsible decision making. The character education traits such as empathy, caring, and responsibility must be taught, developed with community input. It is also encouraged, but not mandated, that teachers enforce positive behavior supports, PBIS, or school climate surveys. So, overall, in the state of Texas, the curriculum does push around some of these things that have to do with transition, change, or starting over, but it's very vague. So there's no like set curriculum, which means that your child may or may not actually learn about transitioning, about starting over, right? It's really going to be according to how that teacher presents the information and how your child learns that information. So, as always, I say if it is important to you, if it's something that you need your child to know, you're going to have to take lead in making sure that they, well, know it. Best practices. When it comes to a child that is transitioning, you're moving homes, you are going to have to be honest. The number one best practice, when you find out and you've processed it, you're like, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to move, like we have to move. You then need to start to prepare your child. You do not spring information on them last minute. I know a lot of times with parents, we will just be like, they'll figure it out when they get to the new place. We don't want to do that. That is going to induce anxiety. I tell people to treat their children literally how you would want to be treated, like any other human. If you found out that you were moving, you wouldn't want to know when you're already at the new house. You would want to be involved and understand what that transition looks like. And the same is important for children. So you need to tell them early. The next thing is you want to involve your child in the process. So here's what I mean by that. You're packing. They should also be packing. You're looking at what the new home will look like. They should be able to see pictures. As you're discovering, well, you played football here, maybe you'll want to play football there. They should be looking at the new coach with you. You want to bring your child in to the practice of moving. All of those transitional pieces, all the parts that we kind of try to shield our child from, they need to be involved with, because now they feel like they'll have a level of agency. At the very least, there will be more agency than you just doing everything and then telling me when it's done. Now, you're going to get pushback. So another best practice is to be understanding. Their whole world was just rocked, right? They are used to their room, their space, their school, their whatever, and that has now been removed. And so you need to take an approach of empathy and understanding. Now, that doesn't mean you don't go, because life happens. I've had to move plenty of times with my child, but this is why I'm able to tell you firsthand some of the things that help. One, involve them in the process. For two, allow them to take at least some very important items that remind them of their current home to their new home. If there are posters on the wall that have been there for a while, if there are, pillowcases or comforter sets that they're used to, transition that with them. Allow them to take a piece of the old and bring it into the new. The other part of this is you want to talk often. And so if it's a month until move day, check in with that child. They might be resistant. They might say some things and start popping off at the mouth. And you like, the teacher lady told me to be patient, but you doing a whole lot. Again, be understanding. Remember, that's part of our best practices. Involve them in a process, have constant conversations, and allow them to get to know the new space before they actually get to the new space, because all of those things help to set their brain up. Another best practice, and perhaps one of the most valuable best practices, is for you to let them know that you understand how challenging this is. And so a lot of times with children, simply validating their feelings, like the why, it's cheaper there, we got a job, like all of those things are cool, but at the core of it, what you want is to feel like somebody else gets your pain and your frustration. And so there were moments, even with my daughter, as we were moving from a different state or a different home, where I was able to just hold space for those emotions. answer the questions as I'm able to, and let her experience what she needs to, because again, this is a pretty big deal. So those are some best practices that you want to implement when it comes to change. I also want to say and put a caveat to like be kind with yourself, to yourself. This might be a surprise for everybody involved. And so you're also trying to process and you're also trying to figure out how this is all going to work. And so making sure that you are taking care of yourself while you are trying to take care of your little a spouse or whoever else is also super important. Another thing that is super special is if you could do a goodbye gathering of some sort. There are key people that your child might miss. Now, this is different if you're moving like a different apartment to a different apartment, that's local or nearby. But if there is going to be a drastic shift, I would make sure that there was something to say goodbye, some going away parties, some celebration of a new career, something around bringing the people who are important and in that area in to say, hey, this is what's going on with us. And we just wanted to spend a few hours with you to tell you thank you. We appreciate and love you. And so that you're able to wish us well on our new journey. Those are some of the best practices that you can utilize when it comes to transition or big changes in children. If your child is neurodivergent and you are going through a big change and a big transition, visual schedules will help you a lot. Maybe even if your child isn't neurodivergent, honestly, because maybe I'll be wanting a visual schedule. Being able to see that on this day, you're going to start seeing strangers in the house because they're packing. This day, you'll start to see boxes because they're being delivered. Again, you do what you can. I know it's extra homework for you, but if your child who is neurodivergent, who is very strict on their routine, you now have to uproot them and you now have to change. If you can get them a visual schedule or kind of something that shows them the trajectory of what's taking place, it will help. You can also hold conversations for what will change and what will remain the same. So a lot of times when you tell a child that you're moving, they think everything is just gone, and children tend to think in absolutes. So a new home means a new everything, and that's not necessarily true. So what are some things throughout this transition that are able to stay the same? Can their new bedroom resemble their old bedroom? Will they be able to still talk to their best friend on the phone on Tuesdays instead of going over their house? It's a change, but it's also similar because they're used to talking to this friend every Tuesday. And so really think about the things that you can keep consistent in the new space and allow your child to understand that some things will change, but some things will remain the same. We will find a new park, a new restaurant, a new what have you. The thing will remain the same. The location might change. Resources. Here are some resources that you can utilize to help your child transition. The first one is Sesame Street. Sesame Street is always going to have a topic related to something going on in our week, okay? And this is no different. So I'll put the link below. But Sesame Street and Communities, in regards to moving, they have interactive games that will help you set your child up for success on moving day. They also have videos, principal activities like coloring sheets and other games that they can play. This website really helps to prepare your child, especially if they're a young child, with the upcoming change and transition that's about to take place. The second resource I'm going to talk about today is the Child Mind Institute. The Child Mind Institute will have articles talking about how to support your child during transitions. So it's another resource to help you mentally prepare as a parent to present them with the new information. They're also going to have resources that will help you spot mental health challenges when it comes to your child, because moving and transitions are very hard. And lastly, it's going to provide different techniques around building resilience and helping your child to get acclimated to their new environment. Next, we have Coloring Colorado. Now, y'all have heard me talk about this organization before because they are so loaded with resources for English language learners. So if your child is an English language learner, if you are a family who has migrated here from a different country and now you're moving again, They have specific resources to help with moving and transition. I really love the inclusivity. I love that they are focused on who their target audience is and that their whole website is around supporting immigrants, is around supporting children who are English language learners and getting used to new environments. The next resource to get your child for their big transition or moving day would be understood.org. Understood.org is a great resource for neurodiverse learners. Okay. So for the neurodivergent babies, they have visuals, they have routines, similar to how I was talking about earlier about the visual schedules that you can make to set them up for success on the big day. They have role playing tools and so many other sensory things that you can utilize, ideas, articles, and information to get your baby ready for their big move. And the last resource, unless of course you are subscribed to my newsletter, you see what I did there? The last resource we are going to talk about for now is resilience.org. Resilience.org is a community-centered guide. They are going to have storytelling, rituals, and emotional vocabulary talking about transitions. It's not specific to moving because transitions are not specific to moving, but overall, you will be able to find so much that will help you to prepare for this big change in your child's life. In addition to those 5 websites, of course, use literacy. This week, I want to highlight again Evelyn Del Rey Moves Away. Excellent resource in talking about moving and transition, as well as From Far Away, which is another book that you can read to get ready for this big move. When to seek help. If your child is shutting down, you've told them that you're moving, you've told them that grandma is moving, you've informed them of the big change, and it's been weeks of this point of just no emotional response. They won't talk, they won't eat, they are shutting down. You are going to have to seek additional help. That help can come by way of a school guidance counselor if available. Sometimes it's checking in with your doctor to make sure that they are okay. But keep in mind that things like transition and change tend to induce anxiety in most people, especially children. And so if you notice any major emotional changes and they're just not coming out of it, you might want to go check in with somebody and make sure that your little one is good. The second time you need to seek help is you've now moved. You're now in your new home, your new space, your new apartment. And again, your baby is just completely disconnected. They're isolating to self, where previously they were super outgoing. They're refusing to participate, where previously they were ready to kind of do it all. If you notice these huge emotional shifts and you have implemented these practices that I've discussed, you're trying to, hey, let's go to the movies. You're trying to get them involved in fun things and they're just refusing to respond. Again, you want to check in for community connection, right? So that's your local library. Your local library is going to have resources around possibly group meetings or other things that might help them outside of you. Church, even if you don't believe in God, a lot of times churches have great resources for community, for connection, for getting to know the people in the neighborhood, as well as things like PTAs, parent teacher associations, are an excellent resource for getting your child involved in community that is outside of yourself. So these resources I am specifically talking about don't have to do with you anymore because that ain't working no more. And it's time to seek additional help. That help can be church, that help can be libraries, that help can be doctors, that help can be guidance counselor. And sometimes it's all of the above, okay? You make sure to watch your child and observe them so that as they are changing and as they are not acclimating to their new environment way after the fact, because you got to give them time. Maybe you just uprooted everything, right? So we're going to be patient. But if you are noticing that they are still not coming back to life, their brightness is still super dull, it is time to check in with other people to figure out how to help that baby. Lastly, their family and their community where they were are also excellent resources. Let them get on FaceTime. Let them make a phone call. Let them write a letter, okay? Don't cut them off. Instead, allow them to connect. And when you recognize that this is beyond your scope of practice, it's higher than your pay grade, go ahead and seek additional help. So here are some common statements, questions, and or things that parents do. The first one I had talked about earlier. Well, shouldn't I just go ahead and move my kid and then talk to them once we get there? Absolutely not. Don't do that. We don't do that for multiple reasons. One, we respect tiny humans and we understand that their emotions and their feelings are valid. And we would not want to just wake up and be in a new place and it just is what it is. Start the process as early as possible, keeping in mind your own mental health. Try to find the balance, but absolutely inform them. The second, along those same lines, while they're getting used to their new friends, should we just stop communication with their old friends or with old community? No, because there is still love there and there is still connection there. And that doesn't change because they went to a new space. In fact, it will make it worse because now this is another thing that I've lost. I've now lost the people I'm most connected to. So instead, when you get to that new home, allow them to do the FaceTimes, type the emails, text messages, letters, draw a picture, whatever you can to keep them connected to the community that they just moved from while simultaneously growing in their new community. The third common question or statement is, my child has an attitude and they're just refusing to participate in any piece of this move. Again, we discussed this earlier. Be patient. Understand that they have no idea where this now places them in life. They found friends they like. They know what food they like. They know what time they go to sleep. They know their bedroom. They know their neighborhood. And all of that, even if in your mind, we moving on up, right? This is a better change for us. It is still change, and change is hard. Wow, I know that was a mouthful. I will have more resources in my newsletter, so make sure that you subscribe, sign up using the link below. My final thoughts are that transition, change, and new beginnings are difficult for anybody, let alone our children. Be kind to your children, be kind to your spouse, and first things first, be kind to yourself, because the more we love on us, the more love we have to give, okay? If you are new here, I am the author and illustrator of 9 beautifully diverse books. Those books help to encourage the Empathy Library, which is a pay-it-forward program. You can go on the website, you donate what you can. That money then buys books for children who need them, and then those children get them. It's simple. The receipts are on the website. We thank you so much for your generosity and support. I am loving, growing, and getting to know this book loving community. Please drop comments. Have your little one go pick up a read aloud off the Teacher Lady Reads playlist and just continue to grow and connect with each other by way of this channel. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.